All right. Um, well, thank you for watching my last video. Seems like a lot of people have seen it, enjoyed it, and had some thoughts and comments on it. So I appreciate everybody who stopped by my channel and got into a discussion with me. I'm hoping this next video also offers up some good courses of discussion as well. Beyond just this video, let me know what you guys want to listen to or what you want to talk about. I'll continue to post stuff up and hopefully we can get a nice little conversation going over a few different kind of topics. I'm pretty much open to any movie. I got a few ideas, but I don't know if anything will be quite as good as the Poor Things discussion just because I got ahead of that one so soon. The opinions were so divided. I'll do what I can with this one, but I definitely wasn't expecting to get as many views as I did on the last video, but I think a lot of people agree with me, and hopefully just as many people agree with me here with this new topic. I'm going to be discussing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino. This is a movie that I'm not really sure how polarizing it is. I think most people have kind of decided it's good, and most people are okay with Quentin Tarantino as a whole. I would definitely say I was in that camp as well at one point, but after I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, actually during my first viewing of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I guess I became disenchanted by the whole film, or I guess the Tarantino-iness of it didn't quite mesh with the subject matter, and it kind of took me out of the story. Um, I mean, I don't think my thoughts here are rare, but the situation between Cliff Booth and Bruce Lee didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Um, I tried to understand it, and it seems like quite a few people had issues with it because he did end up addressing it in the future, and his comments were basically to the effect of, I needed to make Brad Pitt look cool in my movie. I know Bruce Lee is cool, so the quickest way to make Brad Pitt look cool in my movie is to make Bruce Lee look lame and have Brad Pitt be the one that makes him look lame or castrates him or whatever. Uh, I really didn't get that at all. It didn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it made a lot of sense to people that ended up hearing that response too, because he still got a lot of pushback after that. I think he just made things more confusing and didn't really help clear anything else up at all. But to me, it wasn't really about making Brad Pitt look cool or making Bruce Lee look lame. It just seemed very disrespectful and very random for you to make a whole career off of Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee iconography, referencing him heavily in Kill Bill, and then taking all of the merchandising money from all those bride toys and posters, and again, the symbolism of Bruce Lee and profiting off of it, to then undercut it or disrespect it or in some way say Bruce Lee was undeserving or wasn't really as cool as we all remembered. Didn't really make any sense. I think maybe if he was just trying to deconstruct overall in general throughout his career, I'd feel better about it, but he always seems to have a lot of reverence for actors, movies of the past, um, and it just didn't really gel with what I knew of him overall by looking at his past work. Um, then I got into the ending of the movie, and it seemed like it was really rushed. It seemed like it was shoehorned in as a strange epilogue that really wasn't built up to it all. And I'm aware of the history surrounding what took place there in the Manson murders, but if you're not a person that's already been watching A&E channel, or someone that isn't already invested in everything that was going on at the time and steeped in 60s and 70s culture, the abrupt turn that the movie makes doesn't really make any sense, and the characters don't really earn their fates. All the villains of the story are pretty much neutral if anything, they're also portrayed as victims or as confused, but they still get killed in really gruesome ways. And I didn't know if it was supposed to be funny or supposed to make you reflect on the nature of violence as a whole in film. So to borrow Quentin Tarantino's own very interesting phrase, I had to reject the hypothesis of the entire film. I didn't know where it was going. I'm definitely a number one Quentin Tarantino supporter. I've always enjoyed his films, whether it be Pulp Fiction, whether it be Reservoir Dogs, which a lot of people say was a direct ripoff, and whether it be Jackie Brown, which I thought was a great use of Pam Grier, great use of Michael Keaton. Robert Forster was great in that film as well. Chris Tucker, just a lot of really memorable characters, really memorable scenes, and great work overall. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of broke me of that, and I went back and happened to be reading some David Foster Wallace, researching David Lynch, and David Foster Wallace made the comment that Quentin Tarantino took a lot of French New Wave and David Lynchisms and just kind of made them more digestible and more mainstream. And after I read that too, it was hard to really go back and see Quentin Tarantino the same way. The work just seemed very derivative, and I couldn't really put my finger on that before, but there was definitely a very specific tone that balanced kind of the esoteric and the mundane with random outbursts of violence and just this kind of natural tension between those two, because the tone the films created made anything possible at any time, especially exemplified by sequences like Bruce Willis shooting John Travolta while he came out of a bathroom in Pulp Fiction. There are just always opportunities and story beats that kind of arrive out of nowhere after a considered pause. And there's always this tone of unease throughout all Tarantino's films. And I couldn't really figure out the DNA of that or where he got that from. But after I read David Foster Wallace's analysis of David Lynch's work, when he went out to watch David Lynch put together Lost Highway, everything kind of clicked for me and fell into place. So I never looked at Tarantino the same way again. Looking at his new film, The Movie Critic, it kind of confirmed my thoughts, because it seems like he doesn't really have a handle on what he's trying to say at this point in his career. And that's exactly what I got from watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I saw that he had a reverence for film. I saw that he had an interest in the era. But beyond that, I had no clue what the statement was in that film. It was really pretty aimless. I know a lot of reviews that came back positive were basically to the effect that it was a fun 3-hour romp through Los Angeles, but I have no particular allegiance to Los Angeles of the past or modern Los Angeles, so I didn't get a lot out of the film references or references to the geography of the area, so it was all just kind of needlessly solipsistic. I really enjoyed Brad Pitt. I thought Leonardo DiCaprio did a great job, and his performance is, of course, at this point, legendary, if only because it's been immortalized in memes all across the internet. But seeing that The Movie Critic was also postponed or canceled due to a lack of narrative cohesion, I think the problem is there's a lot of pressure on Quentin Tarantino right now, and there isn't a lot for him to riff off of in modern society. There is the current day conflict in Gaza, but his wife is Israeli, so he can't really tackle that in an honest way. It seems like he's gotten caught in like this 70s quagmire, and Django was a Western or a takeoff on Westerns. Hateful Eight was also a takeoff on Westerns. Glorious Bastards was kind of a war movie or takeoff on war movies, a response or reaction to war movies. Same thing for Kill Bill as a response to Kung Fu. Wuxia, Chop Saki, whatever you want to call it. It just seems like Tarantino's run out of things to react to, or things that interest him and engage him enough to demand a real reaction. And I'm not sure where he goes from here. I'm really not sure what I would like to see from Quentin Tarantino. A lot of people have said they want to see Kill Bill Volume 3, but him and Uma Thurman had such a tumultuous time there, and I believe Uma Thurman even got injured as a result of his behavior on that set. So I'm not sure how likely it is for anything like that to happen again. But I do think Quentin Tarantino is interesting. I definitely will watch anything else he makes. I wouldn't want to write him off based on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I would definitely say that film's overall lack of focus or lack of clarity maybe turned me off to the film and definitely made me reevaluate all of his work. That's about all I had to say on that. Do you guys feel like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was overrated? Do you feel like it made sense to you and maybe I'm just overthinking things? Let me know. I mean, I've definitely seen some better films. I think Taxi Driver did a good job of bringing along people into a darker world, a more violent world, justifying the decisions of a violent person. The original Death Wish was also really good. As far as just films that kind of take you through a location, I also really enjoyed American Gigolo, and it also moved through Los Angeles about a decade later, though. I'm not sure both of those are Paul Schrader too, interestingly enough. So maybe there was some Paul Schraderishness going on. I know the Movie Critic also was supposed to obliquely reference Paul Schrader as well. So I'm not sure what was the goal, but I know other movies have done similar things better. I think Quentin Tarantino knew how to use his actors. I think he knew he wanted to fill the character that Leonardo DiCaprio portrayed with a lot of pathos and a lot of empathy from the audience. So he cast DiCaprio. I know he wanted someone that could be imposing and brooding without saying a lot. So he brought in Brad Pitt. And those actors really do a lot of heavy lifting defining those personas. I don't know that the film was that strong on its own. Anyway, let me know if you guys agree or disagree, or if I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill. All right, y'all have a good one.